The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we are live on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. By the way, cold and flu season, try Vicks Sinex nasal spray. Works up to 12 hours when you have congestion. Vicks Sinex nasal spray. Joy Taylor is joining me on a Monday. It was a very busy weekend, some college basketball. It's Bracket Monday. You don't care about my bracket, and I don't care about yours. And it'll probably be Duke in the national championship, and that'll be okay with me because I've watched Duke play 15 times this year. They can't shoot, but they're really good. Joy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. Well, we do it every week at this time. I started doing this about 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but people in this business never admit when they're wrong. Political pundits don't. They just move the goalposts. And I thought every Monday I'll come out and I'll just say last week, here's where I goofed up and here's where I was right. So here we go.
Where Colin was right?
I told you a year ago, I said, you better draft Sam Darnold, Giants. And if you don't, you're going to regret it. Well, let's look less than a year later. Odell Beckham's gone. Dave Gettleman is getting crushed. They have no plan. Eli's shot. There's a division in the locker room whether he can play. And the New York Jets, cross town, have their guy and are completely optimistic just adding Le'Veon Bell and feel like they can compete for a division. Listen, you pass on a top quarterback prospect. And every single analyst I know, every GM I talked to said Darnold was either the first or the second best quarterback. You don't pass up on a top quarterback prospect. The NFL, college gives you 1 or 2 a year max. Darnold was one of the 2-3 guys that can change your franchise. An aging Eli Manning, and less than a year later, the Giants are an absolute mess.
Where Colin was wrong.
Zion Williamson came back for Duke. I said when he got hurt, this kid's going to break every shoe deal ever. He's a once-in-a-decade phenom. Do not risk him getting hurt. It'll tarnish Krzyzewski's reputation, Nike's, everybody. Well, he came back. For the record, I love being wrong here. I love athletes that care about, playing. It's not all about money and brand. This kid, though, is going to shatter every shoe record deal for a rookie into this league, and I'm not sure it'll ever be topped, at least in the next decade. I thought they'd sit him out, and I thought there would be too much pressure, even from Zion Williamson's family, Nike, but he came back, he played great. He's an absolute blast to watch, and I couldn't be happier being wrong.
Where Colin was right?
Russell Westbrook, Saturday night. Listen, the fan in Utah is a jerk and should have been kicked out forever. And I think fans are inappropriate all the time. But my knock on Westbrook is always, he's just too darn rigid. And you add a little tension, a fourth quarter, a playoff, and he just implodes. Saturday night, classic example. He's going after one of the quietest, most demure, classiest guys in the league, Klay Thompson. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are about as likable as American superstars get. And it showed once again, even after the game, his intensity creates tension in the building, and it's palpable.
You got your 16th technical. Do you have any hopes of getting that one rescinded so you can play Monday night?
Next question. Russ, were you aware that you were at 15? Next question. Are you disappointed with yourself for picking up your 16? Next question.
I mean, he's just a lot of work. Just a lot of work.
Where Colin was wrong.
I've ripped the Packers forever. The penny-pinching, free agent Packers. They have Aaron Rodgers, and they never get him a legitimate defense. But I got to tip my cap to the Packers. I thought they did a great job in free agency. They didn't go out and spend crazy money. They went out and got defensive guys who were really good. Preston Smith, very good linebacker from Washington. He's going to come in and start. Adrian Amos for the Bears. Zadarius Smith, another linebacker. They went out and got 3 starters defensively, got faster and more athletic in the linebacking core. When you get an Aaron Rodgers, that's a once-a-decade talent, right? Give him a defense. I mean, I like Tom Brady as much as anybody, but Brady for 15 years, at the end of every season, New England has a top 10 defense. I mean, you can't ask Aaron Rodgers to save you year after year. He's 35, increasingly a little brittle. I thought Green Bay had a very good offseason. They got starters, really good players, productive guys who have been in this league, and they didn't spend a fortune. They maybe this is the most they can do. You know, I got to lower my standards a little, but I thought Green Bay had a really nice free agent week.
Where Colin was right?
Kevin Durant's good, but am I the only one that notices when Kevin Durant's out, the Warriors are good? They beat Houston. They beat Oklahoma City. Both wins were on the road. But here's the point. Whether they're better or not without Kevin Durant, here's the point. This is Steph's team. I've always felt it's Steph's team. They're more fun to watch. The spacing's better. It's more touches for Steph Curry. I think Steph's an amazing guy, and his aptitude, his sense of timing, his sense of self is remarkable. I don't know if there's ever been a superstar like Steph Curry, who is an incredibly giving teammate. But you know what? Sometimes he shouldn't give up so much, because when he's freewheeling out there and he's got the ball in hands, Golden State's spacing and flow and tempo, they score more. I'm not saying Kevin Durant's not the best bailout scorer in the NBA, but this is Steph's team, and you can just watch how the ball flows when they're not waiting for Durant to save them at the end of the clock. Once again, proving Durant's the better player. It's Steph's team.
Where Colin was wrong.
For years, I've blamed Mike Tomlin for 99% of the Steelers' issues. But that story on Big Ben coming out that he purposely fumbled 4 years ago, that's just an indictment. I can't get past that. True or not true, the video doesn't do Ben any favors. It's a weird play, to say the least, that he fumbled it despite Todd Haley. They had a 10-point lead, minute to go against the Bungles, so they had the game in hand. Listen, there's just too many former teammates criticizing Ben. Smoke, fire. I mean, again, he's a quarterback. Quarterbacks can get away with more. We all know that. That's the way the world works. Mike McCarthy's getting fired. Aaron Rodgers is not getting fired. If Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll didn't get along, I can tell you who'd be out of town. It wouldn't be Russell Wilson. But at some point, we got to stop defending Big Ben at every turn. There's a lot of drama, a lot of passive-aggressive, and this claim against him is ugly.
Where Colin was right?
The more honest I am, the more hate I get. I've been saying recently that, Buffalo, players don't want to play there. You have to overpay by about 20% for Buffalo to get players. That's not a shot at Buffalo. It's cold. It's next to Nova Scotia. Well, the NFL agents had a poll this weekend, and they asked the best and worst landing spots for their players. And Buffalo was the worst NFL destination, according to agents, from what their players said. Listen, I've had players tell me this. I've had coaches tell me this. It's harder to move your wife to Buffalo than it would be Los Angeles, Dallas, Chicago, or Miami. It's nothing against Buffalo, but it's cold. It's kind of geographically isolated. It's cold, and they have a history of losing. There is a geographic reality with Buffalo, and the players have nothing to gain by saying this, but it's true. So every time I say it, that Buffalo's got to overpay to get people, it's not because I hate Buffalo. I'm in the honesty business, not in the protect your reputation business.
Where Colin was wrong.
The Lakers may not win as many games as last year. Let's just put a cap on this. This is as bad. I would have never guessed this. They'll get swept by the Knicks. They'll win fewer games than without LeBron. The players they get rid of, like Julius Randle, will all get better, and LeBron won't elevate anybody's game other than maybe Kyle Kuzma. This morning, if I said worst team in the NBA, if I said Lakers, are you sure I'd be wrong? They got swept by the Knicks, who I think we all understand are trying to lose. This has been so much worse than I ever thought. It's not just that they're not going to reach 48 wins. They may be the worst team in the league. I think they are. Phoenix, Lakers, that's about it.
Where Colin was right?
Said a year ago, this NFL free agency, it's going to start looking like NBA free agency. Is it Philadelphia did it, Rams did it, and they both end up in a Super Bowl? This was a lot of fun. It's a big win for the NFL. But we said this about a year ago. Something's changing culturally. It's like when Jimmy Johnson took over the Cowboys, made a big trade, and everybody said, hey, trading's cool. You can get better fast. Free agency is now a real business in late February and March in the NFL. It's not going to slow down. Like, this is not going to slow down. This is not a 1 or a 2 off. Going forward, you're going to see teams spend a lot of money. The winner, by the way, is you, the fans, because I don't remember in my life the first week of March being more fun to be a sportscaster than last week. Stars, trading teams, controversies, Odell Beckham, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. The Caps moved up. There's a lot of money, and they're spending it.
Where Colin was wrong.
Well, I said about 3 weeks ago, I said, it's not going to happen anytime soon, but Russell Wilson and his beautiful wife, Ciara, there's a sense that maybe Seattle isn't big enough for the star couple. Well, Russell Wilson came out this weekend and addressed my rumor, which I acknowledge was a rumor, and said, I'm not sure the Seahawks are going to let me get away. I love Seattle. Special place. I won a Super Bowl here. 2 Super Bowls, multiple playoff games, everything else. I love it here. So for the time being, Seattle, it feels like you won. Congratulations, feeling that way, but I will still contend that Russell Wilson and Ciara, there are people very captivated by that pair in metropolitan areas on the coasts, and I'll leave it at that.
Where Colin was right?
The American Alliance of Football, that new spring football league, the AAF, 2 good stories this weekend. Number one, CBS has now decided we're going to put some games on our air, a major network. 2 more games. Johnny Manziel, it's been announced, is going to get a tryout for the AAF. They've signed him. Listen, I'm going all in on this. Spring football is going to work in America. I don't want to hear about the XFL. This is not the XFL. I don't want to hear about the USFL. Trump's not involved in this league. Okay, this thing's going to work. Now, it may not be this league. It may be the XFL. That's the Vince McMahon league. They're going to come next spring. I don't think both leagues survive for 10 years. I don't know if they've survived for 3 years. But spring football is going to work. Legalize gambling. There's a real hole in February and March to talk about football. And the other thing is, this league is perfect for, the Kaepernick, the Tebow, the Manziel, a quarterback that maybe NFL teams, for whatever reasons, are reluctant to sign. This league was built for Johnny Manziel. I said this for years about Tim Tebow. Go to Canada. You'll win a Grey Cup. But, there's some stigma among agents sending your guys to Canada, at least in football. So, good weekend for them. Very good weekend for the AAF. And we'll hear the Vince McMahon League. News will be coming about that league pretty soon. Not sure when, but it will. Coming up next, Walt Frazier went out and called out LeBron like ugly. Like just called him right out. We'll talk about that. When you have a good security system, a really good one, things feel different. You feel safer. You go to bed at night, no stress, no anxiety. Simply Safe, every door, every window, you're secure. Sensors, sirens, anybody breaks in. By the way, Wi-Fi goes down, burglar smashes your keypad, power goes out, doesn't matter with Simply Safe. It is a fantastic security for your home. No contracts, there's no hidden fees, no 8-10 hour installation window, have to sit at home waiting for them to arrive. Simply Safe is the top choice security system for PC Magazine, CNET, and more than 3 million Americans. Go to simplysafecolin.com. Also, free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's money right there. Simplysafecolin.com, simplysafecolin.com. Fantastic